The Dollar War. Podcast Script, Episode 3 of 3. Part 3. The Old Money Counterattack. What happens when the Fed, J.P. Morgan, and the Rothschild network push back? The dollar has been challenged before. The response has always been the same: overwhelming, coordinated, and usually successful. Understanding the network. To understand the Western financial system's response to BRICS de-dollarization, you need to understand what that system actually is, and the historical depth of its institutional memory. The Federal Reserve was created in 1913 following the Panic of 1907, a financial crisis that was ultimately resolved through the personal intervention of J.P. Morgan, who organized a consortium of private bankers to inject liquidity into the failing system. The institutional lesson drawn from that episode, by people including Paul Warburg, a partner at Kuhn, Loeb and Company, itself closely tied to the Rothschild network, and representatives of Rockefeller-affiliated banks, was that financial stability required centralized coordination. The creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913 institutionalized that coordination, giving private banking interests, through the structure of regional Federal Reserve banks, a formal role in monetary policy that has no direct equivalent in any other major economy. This is not a conspiracy. It is institutional history, documented in the congressional record. And it matters for understanding the current moment because the interests of the major American financial institutions and the interests of the Federal Reserve are deeply aligned around a single objective: the preservation of dollar primacy. The historical playbook: how the dollar has survived every previous challenge. Challenge 1, Bretton Woods collapse, 1971. When Nixon ended dollar-gold convertibility, conventional wisdom suggested the dollar would lose its reserve status. Instead, Henry Kissinger and Treasury Secretary William Simon negotiated the petrodollar agreement with Saudi Arabia. Oil would be priced and sold exclusively in dollars, and Saudi Arabia would recycle its dollar revenues into U.S. Treasury bonds. The agreement extended dollar dominance for another 50 years. Challenge 2, the yen's rise, 1985 to 1990. Following the Plaza Accord of 1985, the yen strengthened dramatically against the dollar, and serious analysts predicted yen internationalization as a challenge to dollar dominance. The Japanese financial crisis of the early 1990s ended that challenge before it materialized. Japan has remained, to this day, one of the largest holders of U.S. Treasury bonds. Challenge 3, the euro, 1999. The creation of the Eurozone generated predictions that the euro would quickly displace the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency. 25 years later, the euro accounts for approximately 20% of global reserves, a significant second position, but nowhere near challenging dollar dominance. The euro's fundamental weakness, a shared currency without a shared fiscal authority, has never been resolved. Challenge 4, the BRICS decade, 2009 to 2019. The first acronym, coined by Goldman Sachs economist Jim O'Neill in 2001, generated enormous excitement about the economic rise of the emerging world. The dollar's share of global reserves did decline during this period. But the yuan remained inconvertible, the structural advantages of dollar-denominated markets remained intact, and the challenge faded without producing a fundamental shift. The pattern in each case, a credible-seeming challenge emerges. American institutions, the Fed, Treasury, major banks, and their allied networks, respond with a combination of policy adjustment, market pressure, diplomatic engagement, and, when necessary, coordinated financial force. The challenge is absorbed, deflected, or outlasted. The current counterattack, 4 vectors. The Western financial establishment's response to BRICS de-dollarization is operating simultaneously on 4 fronts in 2026. Vector 1, tariff threat as financial deterrence. The Trump administration's threat to impose 100% tariffs on any BRICS nation that pursues a dollar alternative is, in financial terms, a form of deterrence signaling. It communicates a willingness to impose severe economic costs on de-dollarization efforts, costs that most BRICS members, India, Brazil, Indonesia, the UAE, are genuinely reluctant to accept. This threat has been most effective precisely against the BRICS members most capable of making de-dollarization work, those with large, sophisticated economies that have significant exposure to the U.S. market. Vector 2, Dollar Infrastructure Modernization. J.P. Morgan's 2025 research on de-dollarization explicitly acknowledges the trend while concluding that dollar dominance remains. More important than the conclusion is what J.P. Morgan is doing operationally. It is the primary clearing bank for offshore renminbi transactions in the United States, actively participating in yuan internationalization while maintaining its position as a central node in the dollar clearing system. This is not contradiction, it is sophisticated positioning. The major Western banks are ensuring that whatever alternative architecture BRICS builds, Western financial institutions have a seat at the table. Meanwhile, the development of USD-backed stablecoins on blockchain infrastructure, Circle's USDC, backed by treasury bills and cash, processing over $10 trillion in on-chain transactions annually, represents a new layer of dollar infrastructure that is faster, cheaper, and more globally accessible than traditional correspondent banking. It is, in essence, the dollar fighting back with the same technological weapons BRICS is deploying. Vector 3, the Fed's interest rate architecture. Perhaps the most underappreciated vector of dollar defense is the simplest: positive real interest rates. Gold pays no return. Yuan assets carry convertibility risk and political uncertainty. Dollar assets, particularly short-term treasury bills, currently offer yields above inflation. For a central bank reserve manager in a country not subject to U.S. sanctions, the rational calculation remains: dollar assets offer better risk-adjusted returns than alternatives. As long as the Fed maintains that arithmetic, the financial incentive for reserve diversification is limited. The Fed's independence, its credibility as an institution that makes decisions based on economic analysis rather than political direction, is the foundation of this advantage. And it is, arguably, the most fragile element of dollar defense in the current political environment. Vector 4, the alliance system as financial moat. The U.S. dollar's dominance is inseparable from the U.S. alliance system. NATO members collectively represent the world's largest and most liquid capital markets. Quad partners, the U.S., Japan, Australia, and India, account for a combined GDP larger than the entire BRICS coalition on market terms. The Five Eyes intelligence network shares financial intelligence in ways that create informational advantages no competing system currently replicates. This is the deepest moat. China can build CIPS. BRICS can pilot BRICS Pay. But they cannot, in the near term, replicate the institutional depth, legal predictability, and geopolitical weight of the Western financial alliance system.